When you are solo in Rust, the term survival means a lot. Claiming your place on the map and fighting to outlast the competition can be done in many different ways. Whether that's a flurry of explosive engagements or you blend in, lay low and play smart. You either make your mark, keep grinding and surviving the wipe, or you give up, letting your base decay and your wipe fade away. This wipe started on wipe day. With 250 people on the server, my beginnings were rough. So rough that placing this bag in the area that I wanted to spend my wipe was the last act I did before I logged off for the night. Yeah, I don't believe that. But coming on early the next morning is from here that I would not only survive but grow and get back at those who stopped me that first night, staking my defiant claim to the area. Plenty of people had moved into the area in the time that I'd been gone, so after I farmed up a little bit, I found a non-snowy part of the area, close enough to power plant's build limit, and popped down my 2x1. With the base down, some farm secured, it was on to get my tier 1 workbench, so I headed down to power. If you can't tell from all of my videos, power plant is my meta at the moment and such a nice monument for solos. My hopes for this week, having power in the snow, was that it wouldn't be overly busy. I tried to keep myself to myself and my trips short. Dipping in and out of power plant was a plan for the first hour or so. Is that a little naked? Where I hadn't spawned on the beach or run along the road on my way, my low grade was lacking, so I added low grade to my current list of priorities. Annoyingly, I'd gone up the power plant stack way too early and wasn't geared enough for the rads, and by the time I realised someone was nearby and following me, my health was down to 20, meaning I couldn't even jump out of the pipe and just had to hold. This was always going to end one way. After that loss, I got back to working on my base and got it upgraded to stone and crafted a tier 1. I was clearly going to be needing something more than a bow if I was going to bump into this guy regularly. Fortunately for me, while recycling for cloth, I came across someone that wasn't geared with tier 2 weapons right outside my front door. Without a weapon at all, he chose to scream and weave, and was relatively stacked with a bunch of useful farm odds in need of. There were more people in the area now, so I took time to focus on farming nearby, my low-grade supplies, and expanding my airlock and loot room. During this, I'd been overheard felling trees and had a little naked visitor. I won't lie, after he hit me with the mace the first time I was panicking and I was already annoyed at myself for dropping down, but luckily I didn't embarrass myself too much and lose to him. I spent a little while farming and recycling, but seeing other groups claiming control of power plant, I knew I was going to need to turn the scrap into a tier 2 and start crafting some guns to defend myself. I had a few tier 2 guns already learned on the server, so I crafted myself a SAR kit and meds with my new tier 2. Feeling a little safer, I did a quick power run, found a Tommy and started roaming the area nearby. I heard some shots at the other end of power and decided I'll go check it out. Not only did he annoyingly have friends, but he must have lived in one of the bases close to mine or at least had an outside bag, as I heard his naked feet arrive at my body immediately. After the loss, I shifted my focus away from scrap. I already had a tier 2 and components to craft weapons, so I committed time to farming up nodes, preparing to honeycomb my base. I wasn't planning anything elaborate for my base this wipe, so focused on getting my first level of honeycomb done to hopefully survive the night. While doing all this, I kept hearing a neighbour nearby not only shooting a python at anything that moved, maybe attempting to bait others over, but also slowly farming trees closer and closer to my base. I had no idea this guy had a teammate, and the python shot literally made me jump so much that I accidentally smashed my crafting menu key and just reacted horribly all around. I guess this is one of the parts of being solo. With no one watching your back, sometimes you'll be so sure the guy you've killed is a solo too, that you forget that always one more mentality. To chill out a bit after that moment of rage, I carried on with what I was doing before, adding honeycomb to my base and upgrading some of the walls as well. With the activity in the area, I was pretty nervous about adding the honeycomb, but I only had to worry about this one guy who seemed nice enough and was only in need of tools.
What's up, my guy? I'm just running past.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, you don't by any chance got like a tool or anything that I can farm these barrels with, do you? Bone club.
Yeah, sure, give me a sec.
Thank you, my man.
No worries, man. Have a good night.
Have a wonderful day.
Now that honeycomb was done, I went on a run to top up my metal in my furnaces and came across a previously raided base and managed to find 200 scrap. This was perfect timing as I was hoping to get garage doors learned before I logged off, and with none for sale around the map yet, I was just hoping to tech tree it. Maybe getting lucky and finding it while farming. I deep into sudden bonus scrap and got to grinding out power for the rest of the night. Having spotted the guy from quite far away, I realised he wouldn't have seen me too, and I was actually in the perfect spot to wait and jump him, as he would most likely make his way through the monument. After depoting the initial best loot, I went back knowing this guy was going to be there as well, so I came back carefully. and that was another example of why I'm grateful for binding my alt-look key to my mouse button. I don't know why he hesitated or why he stopped, but I was glad to have banked these 2 Tommy kits to roam with. With the runs I'd done and the little scrap this guy had given to me, I now had enough scrap to learn the garage door, and with little space to sort through all my new loot, it was time to sort out my base a bit. With the base secured, garage doors placed, comps, kits and weapons in the base, I decided that my next real task would be to run a wheel rig up north. For that I was going to need some keycards. I wasn't in the best location for getting cards, but I headed over to supermarket during the night and then on to sewer branch. I saw the goggles on the floor and I knew someone had just been here, but the water noise coming from below was really freaking me out and I let it distract me way too much. pretty abrupt end to my journey to red card. It was coming to the end of my session and I had an idea that I would come onto the server about the same time in the morning and just run oil rig early. But I was still going to need a blue card and a red card, so I thought I'd stick around a little longer, doing some editing but camping out the fuse room at power plant. Scumbag move I know, but we are out here solo. It honestly wasn't even that long until someone came, but him creeping up on me where I was alt-tabbed and seemingly coming straight for me caught me off guard. This guy also came without any blue card for me, and I nearly wasted all my meds on my own incense shells. The fact that this guy was running back past my base to come to the fight suggested he was living in the area behind my base, and I hope he hadn't worked out where I lived. Don't worry, we do end up finding exactly where this guy lives in the coming days. I didn't waste any time and I headed straight back over to the camping spot with a few things I wanted to do on my PC while I waited. Fortunately for me, I was more ready for this guy and he did have the blue card I was hoping for. Despite hearing some shots and wanting to run about with the P2, the server really did start to quieten down. At this point I was really happy with the progress I'd made. The base would hopefully survive the night and I had plenty of kits and resources for an eventful next day, with my first objective being to get to oil rig as early as possible and move on to roams, raids and competing with my neighbours to be the last one standing. I sorted through the last of my boxes, grabbed my wood and my metal and sealed up the bunker as the in-game day turned to night, thinking of tomorrow. Hit the like button to help spread the video, and if you're not already, please think about subscribing as it really does help me out and you'll be the first to know when part 2 of this wipe is released.